In the heart of medieval Spain, where dust rose from the hooves of war horses and faith divided brother from brother, a land existed without mercy. This was the Iberian Peninsula of the 11th century, a land fractured, a land burning, Christian kingdoms in the north, Muslim taifas in the south, and between them, endless war. In this world, survival belonged not to the righteous, but to the strong. And from this chaos, a man would rise whose name would echo across centuries. Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar, history would call him El Cid Campeador, the world before El Cid. Before we speak of the man, we must understand his world. Spain was not one nation, it was a battlefield. Kings betrayed kings, brothers murdered brothers, cities changed rulers overnight. Honor was spoken of, but rarely practiced. Children grew up hearing the sound of steel before prayer, and it was into this unforgiving world that Rodrigo Diaz was born. Rodrigo Diaz was born around the year 1043 in the small village of Vivar near Burgos. He was not born into royalty. He did not inherit a throne. His family belonged to the minor nobility, respected but powerless. From a young age, Rodrigo learned a painful truth. If you wanted to survive in Castile, you had to fight. As a child, Rodrigo trained relentlessly. Wooden swords bruised his hands. Falls hardened his bones. Discipline shaped his mind. While other boys dreamed of comfort, Rodrigo learned endurance, silence, focus, control. These were his first weapons. At the court of Castile, Rodrigo was sent to serve as a page. It was here that destiny found him. I worked so hard to make videos for you and the historical and best commander, Badshah legend. For all of this, subscribe to my channel, like and share the video. The only reward for all this hard work is that please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon. I hope you will cooperate with me. Under the reign of King Sancho II, Rodrigo's talent became impossible to ignore. He was stronger than most men his age, faster, more disciplined, but more important than strength, he understood war. He watched commanders fail. He studied terrain. He learned when to strike and when to wait. And then came the duel that changed everything. A dispute between kingdoms demanded a champion. Rodrigo stepped forward. Steel met steel. Rodrigo stepped forward. Steel met steel. And when the dust settled, Rodrigo stood victorious. From that moment, he earned the title, Campeador, champion. Rodrigo became Sancho's most trusted commander. He led raids. He crushed rebellions. He enforced royal authority. But power creates enemies, and jealousy grows in shadows. While soldiers admired him, nobles feared him. Rodrigo was loyal, but loyalty in royal courts is dangerous. Then came the night that shattered Castile. King Sancho II was assassinated, a blade in the dark, a kingdom in shock. Sancho's brother, Alfonso VI, took the throne, and everything changed. Alfonso did not trust Rodrigo. He feared his popularity, feared his influence over soldiers, feared the legend growing around him. Whispers filled the court. Lies multiplied until one decision destroyed everything. El Cid was exiled. Rodrigo left Castile with only a handful of followers. No land, no protection, no king. Behind him, his home. Ahead of him, survival. This was not the end. This was the beginning. Rodrigo Diaz rode eastward, not as a hero, but as a man erased by his own king. Behind him lay Castile, his homeland, his honor, his past. Ahead of him lay uncertainty, hunger, and enemies on every horizon. This was exile in the 11th century. There were no second chances. A man without a king was a man without protection, and a man without protection was already dead. As El Cid traveled with his small band of loyal followers, villages shut their gates at the sight of him. Not because they hated him, but because they feared the king who had cast him out. To offer shelter to Rodrigo Diaz meant defying Alfonso VI, and defiance meant destruction. So they rode on, cold nights, empty stomachs, silent roads. Yet El Cid never begged. He adapted, because warriors do not ask permission to survive. With no Christian king willing to hire him, El Cid did something that shocked the medieval world. He offered his sword to Muslim rulers, not out of betrayal, not out of faith, but out of necessity. In the fractured lands of Al-Andalus, Taifas fought each other as fiercely as they fought Christians, and war always needs commanders. El Cid became something new, a mercenary lord, paid not for loyalty, but for victory. The Muslim ruler of Zaragoza recognized El Cid's value immediately. Here was a commander who disciplined his men, paid them fairly, never wasted lives, never lost control. Under El Cid, armies moved like a blade, swift, precise, merciless. Christian knights trembled when they heard his name, because he fought them better than their own generals. Battle after battle, El Cid proved something terrifying. He was not reckless. He did not charge blindly. He studied terrain, weather, morale. He attacked when enemies were tired. He retreated when it preserved strength. To his enemies, he seemed unstoppable. To his men, he was justice. Spoils were divided equally. Discipline was strict. Cowards were dismissed. This was not chaos. This was command. During this time, El Cid rode a horse that would become legend. Babieca. Fast, powerful. Unyielding man and horse moved as one. On the battlefield, enemies said they could not tell where Babieca ended, and El Cid began. Despite serving Muslim rulers, El Cid never abandoned his code. He protected civilians. He kept his word. He punished cruelty. In an age where war was slaughter, El Cid practiced control. This made him feared, but also respected. Even enemies admitted, if El Cid promises mercy, he delivers it. News traveled fast. Too fast. King Alfonso VI heard the stories. Victories, wealth, loyal followers. The exiled knight was becoming more powerful than before, and power outside a king's control is a threat. Alfonso realized his mistake, but pride delayed him. Eventually, Alfonso summoned El Cid, not as a favor, but as a necessity. Rodrigo returned honor cautiously. The reconciliation was uneasy. Trust was broken, and El Cid knew something important. A king who betrays once will betray again. It did not take long. Another accusation, another lie, another punishment. El Cid was exiled again. This time, permanently, and this time, he did not look back. Rodrigo Diaz made a decision that would change history. He would no longer serve kings. He would build his own power, his own army, his own destiny, no crown above him, no master behind him, only conquest ahead. Rodrigo Diaz was no longer an exile running from fate. He had become something far more dangerous. A man with an army, a commander whose name alone could decide the outcome of wars. And now he stood alone. No king above him, no banner but his own. El Cid understood something most commanders did not. Battles are won before swords are drawn. He chose terrain carefully. He cut supply lines, he forced enemies to fight on his terms. If victory could be achieved without bloodshed, he took it. If bloodshed was necessary, he ended it swiftly. City after city felt his pressure. Some resisted, others surrendered without a fight. El Cid allowed defeated enemies to keep their lives, if they accepted his authority. Those who betrayed him were never forgiven. El Cid mastered fear. He spread rumors intentionally. He allowed enemies to escape, so they would carry terror with them. At night, fires burned on hillsides. Drums echoed in darkness. Enemies slept knowing he was near. And when morale broke, victory came easily. A new enemy arrived from North Africa. The Almoravids, fanatical, disciplined, relentless. They sought to crush both Christian and Muslim rulers alike, and they saw El Cid as a threat. War was inevitable. The clash was brutal. The Almoravids fought with numbers and fanaticism. El Cid fought with intelligence. He used ambushes, false retreats, sudden cavalry charges. The battlefield became a trap, and when the dust settled, the Almoravids withdrew, defeated. One city stood above all others, rich, strategic, defiant, Valencia. It worked so hard to make videos for you. He observed the historical. He waited as commander. He prepared. Shah legend. Valencia would not fall by force. Subscribe to my channel. It would fall by and share the video. The only reward for all this hard work is that please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon. I hope you will cooperate with me. El Cid weakened Valencia from within. Bribes reached the city, alliances shifted, internal conflicts grew. The city was already bleeding before the siege even began. When El Cid finally moved, Valencia knew there would be no mercy from hunger, no escape, no relief. The siege had begun. When El Cid finally moved, Valencia knew there would be no mercy from hunger, no escape, no relief. The siege had begun. A city does not fall in a day. It falls when hope dies. Valencia did not fall in a single battle. It fell slowly, painfully, day by day. El Cid understood something most warriors never learned. Cities are not defeated by swords alone. They are defeated when hope runs out. And Valencia was about to learn that lesson. Valencia was one of the richest cities in eastern Al-Andalus. Its markets overflowed with grain, silk, and gold. Its walls were strong, its people confident. They believed no outsider could break them, especially not a single warlord with a private army. They were wrong. Weeks passed. Inside the city, food prices doubled, then tripled. Bread became thinner, meals became fewer. Parents skipped food for their children. Merchants hoarded supplies. Fear began to replace confidence, and El Cid waited. Valencia called for help. Messages were sent to allies. Promises were made. Armies tried to approach. El Cid intercepted them, sometimes with battle, sometimes with threats, sometimes by letting them retreat, just to spread despair. No relief came. Hunger weakens the body, but fear destroys the mind. Sickness spread within the walls. Wells became contaminated. Burials increased. At night, the city was silent, not because it slept, but because it mourned. El Cid allowed minor clashes, just enough to remind the city he was still there. Drums echoed at night. Torches burned on the hills. Valencia never rested. Sleep became impossible. El Cid often rode close to the walls, calm, silent, unrushed. A man who knew time was on his side. El Cid often rode close to the walls, calm, silent, unrushed. A man who knew time was on his side. To the defenders, he did not look like a besieger. He looked like fate. Inside Valencia, arguments erupted. Some demanded surrender. Others demanded resistance to the death. Families turned against each other. Leaders blamed one another. Unity collapsed, and El Cid never had to say a word. Months passed. Animals were slaughtered, then pets. Then nothing remained. The final stores were rationed. One piece of bread became a treasure, and when even that disappeared, the city broke. Valencia's leaders approached El Cid, not with pride, but with exhaustion. They asked for terms, and El Cid listened. El Cid did not massacre the city. He did not burn it. He offered mercy, with control. Those who submitted would live. Those who resisted would leave. Order would replace chaos. Valencia accepted. After months of siege, the gates opened. El Cid entered Valencia, not as a servant of a king, not as a mercenary, but as a ruler. Without a crown, without permission, El Cid had taken a kingdom. He ruled wisely. Christians and Muslims lived under his authority. Law was enforced. Trade resumed. The city recovered. And El Cid became something unprecedented. A Christian warlord ruling a Muslim city by respect and fear. Valencia had fallen, but peace did not come with victory. It never does. When a city changes hands, the world responds. And the world was about to descend on El Cid. Across the sea in North Africa, the Almoravid Empire watched carefully. They were not surprised by El Cid's rise. They were offended by it. A single Christian warlord ruling a Muslim city was unacceptable. This was not just politics, it was ideology. And ideology demands blood. The Almoravids crossed into Iberia in massive numbers. Disciplined troops, fanatical resolve, endless reinforcements. They did not come to negotiate. They came to erase El Cid. Valencia was now surrounded by a storm. El Cid reinforced the walls, strengthened gates, stored food, prepared for a siege that might last years. Inside the city, fear returned. But this time, it was different. This time, the people trusted their ruler, because El Cid did not hide behind walls. He rode among them, spoke plainly. promised only what he could deliver. El Cid relied on scouts, messengers, spies. He knew enemy movements before they arrived. He struck supply lines, ambushed isolated units, forced the Almoravids to fight on broken ground. Victory was no longer about glory, it was about endurance. The Almoravids finally attacked, thousands against thousands. Dust rose like smoke, drums thundered. El Cid positioned his cavalry carefully. He waited, and when the enemy committed, he struck the flanks, hard, relentless. The Almoravids did not expect resistance so fierce. The battlefield turned chaotic, and chaos favors masters. Rodrigo Diaz did not command from safety. He fought, sword flashing, voice cutting through noise. His presence held the line. Men fought harder knowing he was beside them. Legends are born in moments like these. The Almoravids withdrew, but not defeated. They would return, and everyone knew it. Valencia still stood, but the cost was heavy. Months turned into years. Raids, counter-raids, skirmishes without end. The Almoravids attacked repeatedly. Each time El Cid adapted. He learned their tactics. He broke their momentum, but age was catching up to him. El Cid was no longer young. Scars covered his body. His strength remained, but recovery slowed. He knew time was no longer his ally. Every victory mattered. Every mistake could be fatal. Despite constant war, Valencia survived. Trade continued. Life adapted. Under El Cid's rule, order held. And that was his greatest victory. Not conquest, stability. To win a city is difficult. To keep it is war without end. El Cid had won battles. He had conquered cities. He had defied kings and empires. But there is one enemy no warrior ever defeats: time. Rodrigo Diaz remained Lord of Valencia until the end of his life. Though his body weakened, his mind remained sharp. He still planned defenses, still advised commanders, still inspired fear beyond the walls. Enemies knew one truth: as long as El Cid lived, Valencia would not fall. The Almoravids never stopped watching. They waited, patient, confident that age would succeed where armies failed. Inside Valencia, people sensed the change. Their protector was growing weaker, and fear returned, not of invasion, but of the future without him. In the year 1099, El Cid fell ill, not from wounds, not from battle, but from exhaustion earned over a lifetime of war. As he lay dying, he understood what was coming. Valencia would not survive long without him, but his legend could. Legend tells us that El Cid gave one last order: when he dies, do not tell the enemy. Dress his body in armor. Place him upon his horse Babieca. Let him ride once more. When the Almoravids attacked again, they believed victory was certain. Then they saw him, El Cid, upright, silent, sword in hand, riding toward them. Panic spread. The enemy believed he had returned from death itself, and fear, ancient, unstoppable fear, took hold. The Almoravids broke. They fled, and Valencia survived. One last time. After El Cid's death, Valencia could not hold forever. Eventually the city fell, but history no longer cared, because El Cid had already become more than a ruler. He had become a symbol. Stories spread across Spain, across Europe. A warrior who served no single faith, but honor. A man who rose without a crown. A commander who ruled by respect and fear. A legend who fought even after death. Worked so hard to make videos for you and the historical and best commander, Badshah Legend. For all of this, subscribe to my channel, like and share the video. The only reward for all this hard work is that please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon. I hope you will cooperate with me.